Hey YouTubers, this is valleyreb, and today I'm going to talk about using my Hudson Bay flint and steel kit to start a fire, and some of the fire gathering materials that I usually pick up here in Virginia. But before I do, I want to give a special shout out to Rock East Outdoors for your spectacular shout out to me and for the great advice you've given me, motivation for doing YouTube videos. And another shout out to Viva La Cat. Appreciate her insight and motivation to me to get out here and do these things. Without further ado, I'm sitting here in front of a great resource. It's the red cedar tree here in Virginia. It's got a very fibrous bark, one that I use quite often to make birds' nests here in the east, and without damaging the tree you're able to scrape off a great deal of fibers that can easily be made into a bird's nest. Catch that spark, get that fire going for you. One way that I harvest bark from the red cedar is not by scraping down. That'll cut the tree. So what you want to do is just take your blade and just scrape it. Scrape that tree. And bark will come off, but only the parts that are actually dead and ready to come off. You can scrape in a downward motion as well without cutting. Great deal of fiber that way. Building your bird's nest, kind of just rub it all together, break those fibers down a little bit more, right? And I make a little spot in the middle, looks like a bird's nest, and that's what's going to catch my char, and I'll blow that into a fire. Okay, so this is my char tin. I showed that in my earlier video. It's just a little tin, and it's got a hole in the top of it. Right where that is, this is just beeswax to keep it sealed up. But you can see that inside I've got my char cloth, and really you only need, a little bit, and maybe as big as your fingernail, to catch that spark. And then seal that back up so it doesn't get wet. And then within my Hudson Bay kit, I have my steel, and this steel is one of my favorites. Alright, so what I do is I take my char and I put it right on the edge of where I'm going to strike. Because as you strike, the sparks that you're catching aren't the ones that are falling to the ground. They're actually the ones that are going to embed into the char. So if you've ever done flint and steel this way, really the hard way is to do it where you're knocking the sparks down. I've done it that way. It's effective, but this way is a little bit quicker. So without further ado, you hold it, and I hold my striker like this, and just with a downward motion, fast, because actually the friction is carving off a piece of the steel and melting that with the heat. So boom, boom, and we've got a spark, and we put that into this. And we have fire. Piece cake. Okay, on this part of the video I'm going to go ahead and start a fire with my ferro rod. This is by firesteel.com, great company. Really looks out for their customers, makes a great product. I ordered this, and then it's just a blank, and then I added my deer antler, copper fitting, epoxied that all together, and put it on a piece of paracord that I always keep on my pack. I always like having one of these as a backup. I mean, we've got lighters and all kinds of ways of starting fires nowadays, but it's always good to have one of these, I think, to fall back on. There's no mechanicals to it. It's just striking light. Okay? So I've got my fire kit here. This is my Hudson Bay kit. We're not going to use that today, but this is my tow bag where I keep all my tinder that I pick up along the way. You know, bark, cattail, all kinds of things, whatever I can find that I think might be useful to start a fire. I also collect a little bit of pine pitch, keep that in a small tin, keep that in the pack. You never know when it's going to be super rainy and you've got to get a fire going. So I went ahead and made a bird's nest here. This is just fibers from different plants. We've got cattail and red cedar here, and then I've got some fat wood shavings here from the collection that I made today. This is just some of it. Great stuff, love it. So the idea of using your fire steel, if you've never used one, it's real simple. Just slight pressure, downward motion, right? And as if you were trying to just cut off a really thin layer of the ferro rod. And I don't usually cut it. I usually scrape it with the backside of my blade. And so I try to target those sparks right into the center of my bird's nest, like so. And as you can see, we got the fire going here, and we'll just get a little bit of this fat wood burning, and we've created a fire. It's pretty simple thing to do, but will save your life one day. Great skill to have. Using all natural fibers, nothing here that was chemically treated or otherwise. And if you liked this video, go ahead and like it and subscribe to Valleyereb's Instagram and my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching, and happy bushcrafting.